Part 3. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihamigwa. Chapter 21. You guys chat first, I'll go see your grandfather first, Zhao Dezu said. Okay, please help, Dr. Zhao. Li Chen immediately stood up and opened the door. Seeing that Li Biwu was still taking a nap, Zhao Dezu swallowed back what he was going to say, and then tiptoed in. At this time, the phone was vibrating. It was the person who had just added. Hello, Mr. Li Chen, I am Mr. Zhao's friend, Zhao Hualiang. Hello, Mr. Zhao, Li Chen replied. Mr. Li, I have tested the ginseng you planted, it is very good, very suitable for our company's next project research. Zhao Hualiang obviously did not intend to be hypocritical and polite, and went straight to the point. Can you guarantee that the rest of the artificial ginseng is of this level? Very direct. Not polite at all. This is a real businessman. Li Chen immediately replied, I guarantee that if there is one that does not meet the standard, I will not charge you. Very calm and decisive reply. For customers like this, you can't brag. But you can't show weakness to the enemy, otherwise others will look down on you. And Li Chen's reply just now was neither humble nor arrogant. Sure enough, Zhao Hualiang sent a voice message directly and said with a smile, since Mr. Li said so, I feel relieved. I wonder how much Mr. Li has left? I want all of them. Because this batch is just the first test, the price can only be 600 per kilogram as Mr. Zhao said. If the quality of subsequent tests is the same level, or even better, I will talk to you in person next time, and the price is definitely not a problem. I probably still have 400 kilograms here, Li Chen said a conservative figure. Zhao Hualiang was very satisfied when he heard it. Then I will leave this matter to Mr. Zhao. I will transfer 250,000 to you first. You can take the rest first, anyway, I will come in person next time. Li Chen looked at the word 250,000, and his heart couldn't help but beat wildly. Okay. Replied quickly, Li Chen reported his bank card. The amount of money was too large, and the other party had to limit the amount even if he used a chat software to transfer money. Ding. The notification sound of a text message came from the mobile phone. There is already an extra 250,000 in the account. Li Chen couldn't help laughing. He already had 164,071 before, and now there is an extra 250,000, and the total wealth is 414,071. The trouble of loan sharks has been solved. Li Chen couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief, thinking of the rare herbs his grandfather needed. He could only find another way temporarily. Even Zhao Lao couldn't find it. If he wanted to find it, it would be very difficult. With 410,000, he was not afraid even if the loan sharks were more than 200,000. After paying it off this time, he would be debt-free. Zhao Dezu, who had walked out of the room, smiled and said, How is the negotiation? It's settled. I'll help you prepare first. Let's do it together. Anyway, it takes time to infuse. Zhao Dezu smiled and said, I'm old, so I still need to stretch my muscles. Li Chen smiled and nodded, took 2 straw hats from the house, handed one to Zhao Dezu, and wore one himself. The two of them each carried a large basket and went straight to the field. During the period of harvesting artificial ginseng, Zhao Dezu couldn't help but sigh. There are definitely quite a few people in the village who make a living by growing medicinal herbs. But it is rare to grow ginseng as well as Li Chen. With someone to talk and work with, although the sun is a bit scorching, it feels much easier. These ginsengs collected are all of good years, and they are growing very well. The only thing Li Chen needs to pay is the vitality water worth 2,000 yuan per drop. And one drop can irrigate many plants. No matter what, Li Chen is making money. 400 kilograms is definitely not all, but Li Chen does not plan to sell it all at once. When Mr. Zhao Hualiang comes next time, Li Chen will show him what a real adult ginseng is. At that time, he can't buy it for 600 yuan a kilogram. Although Li Chen used to be a playboy, he still had some contact with business. Now 600 yuan seems to be a profit, but is it really a loss over there? How many businessmen would do a business at a loss? Soon, Li Chen collected 420 kilograms of ginseng, just enough to make a round number. The remaining 2 or 3 kilograms were given to Zhao Hualiang, which would also leave a good impression. Zhao Dezu saw it all and couldn't help but feel a little praise. The two of them finished their work, and Grandpa Li Chen's infusion was also completed. The little girl Li Biwu was still sleeping soundly and couldn't wake up for a while. "Do you need me to help you send it over?" Li Chen asked. No, I have arranged for someone to come and check it in." Zhao Dezu smiled, and a car came as soon as he finished speaking. Li Chen hurriedly helped to move it, and finally sent Zhao Dezu and others away. It was not until this moment that Li Chen let out a long sigh. The first trouble was solved. Looking at the more than 410,000 yuan in the account, Li Chen now had the urge to spend money immediately. If you don't spend money, there is no way to get the return points, which is the most fatal. And 410,000 is enough for him to spend lavishly, and now he gets 5 times the money back. By then, his money will only increase, and he won't have to worry about running out of money. After Li Chen sorted out his mood, he brought out the crabs that were left before noon. In addition to making butter crabs for Li Biwu, he also made some ordinary crabs. These crabs tasted much worse. "Daddy." Just when Li Chen was about to eat crabs, Li Biwu came out. She was sleepy, but when she saw the crab in Li Chen's hand, she was immediately excited and rushed over. Crack! Li Biwu bit the tender leg of the crab, making a crunching sound. If he hadn't seen this little guy sleeping for so long, he would have doubted whether this was a child who had just woken up. Li Chen could only get up and prepare to get another crab. On the road outside Li Chen's house, a little girl with slightly dark skin but a cute look followed a tall woman reluctantly. "Mom, he won't starve to death, why should we care about him?" Li Xiaoliu said dissatisfiedly. The sun was so scorching, she was dark to begin with, and now she was even darker. Li Zixin, who was walking in front, heard this and turned around and glared at Li Xiaoliu, who immediately shrank her neck. "He is your uncle, you are disrespectful." "I don't even know him well," Li Xiaoliu pouted, "besides, he didn't grow up here, so he can't be considered as one of us." "Xiaoliu," Li Zixin stopped, her face particularly serious, "if I hear you say this again, don't blame me as a mother for beating you." Due to Li Zixin's power, Li Xiaoliu didn't dare to say this again, but she was still muttering, "That's right." Li Zixin didn't hear her daughter's muttering, and the big basket in her hand was full of food. Li Xiaoliu followed her mother dissatisfiedly. She didn't feel close to her uncle Li Chen at all. After all, she had only seen him a few times since she was a child. Because of the relationship with her uncle's family, their family was somewhat ostracized in the village. How could she, who was a child at heart, have a good impression of Li Chen? "Li Chen, are you home?" The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 22. Li Chen, who was about to have a crab-eating competition with Li Biwu, paused slightly with his hands. He put down the crab again, walked to the door, and saw 2 slender figures approaching. It wasn't until these 2 figures approached that Li Chen could clearly see who was coming. Third sister." Li Chen shouted a little jerkily. Li Zixin was not that unpretentious. She placed the vegetable basket in Li Chen's hand and said in a rather cold tone, "There are still some left at home. You have to take care of your grandpa and keep them to eat." "What's left?" "It's obviously the best in the family." Li Xiaolu, who was dark-skinned and about 7 or 8 years old, snorted and was very hostile to Li Chen. Li Chen looked at the third sister in surprise, who seemed not to take it to heart, but after hearing Li Xiaoliu's words, he glared at her again. To be honest, he is not very familiar with these direct relatives in his hometown. Although these relatives said all kinds of disgusting words, they would still send some food or daily necessities from time to time. Every relative didn't seem to like him very much, but every time he walked around half the village intentionally or unintentionally, pretending to be passing by. Li Chen learned many of his life skills from these tough-talking and soft-hearted relatives. Just like the aunt's daughter in front of me, Li Zixin. He is quite aggressive and domineering, and never gives Li Chen a good look. But every time I send something, I am very attentive. Thank you, third sister. Li Chen smiled and said sideways, it's hot outside, come in and sit for a while. What's there to sit at in your house? It's shabby, Li Xiaoliu snorted. Mom bought delicious food, but she didn't taste a bite. How could she not complain? There was no embarrassment on Li Chen's face. He had experienced the darkest moments and humiliations in his life. What does it mean to be kidnapped by children? Daddy. Just when Li Zixin and Li Xiaoliu were about to leave, Li Biwu ran out with a crab in one hand. Li Zixin and Li Xiaoliu were startled at the same time, looking at Li Biwu, who looked like a girl cut from pink and jade, with fondness in their eyes. Xiao Wu, call aunt. Auntie. Li Biwu's mouth looked like it had been smeared with honey. Auntie, you are so beautiful. Li Zixin, who had a cold face just now and was obviously here to deliver something, suddenly couldn't stand it anymore. She couldn't help but squat down, pinched Li Biwu's cute little nose and said, your name is Xiao Wu. Li Biwu made a sweet sound, stretched out his greasy little hand, handed out a crab, and said, Auntie. Li Zixin couldn't stand such a cute and well-behaved child. She couldn't help but pick her up and said, Auntie, thank you Xiao. Auntie won't eat it, but Xiao will. Li Biwu immediately shrank back, and Li Chen smiled awkwardly. Is this snack guy not wanting to feed his aunt at all? Xiao Wu, this is Sister Xiaolu. Li Chen pointed to Li Xiaolu, who also liked Li Biwu and wanted to hug him. Not at all. Li Biwu made a nasal noise and pursed his lips. Anyone who bullies daddy is a bad person. Li Chen's heart trembled again. Did this little guy just hear his niece Li Xiaolu criticize him? Li Xiaoliu's face turned red, but fortunately her skin was darker, so it wasn't obvious. If you don't scream, don't scream. You are a bad boy too. After all, Li Xiaoliu is still a child. How can he tolerate others speaking ill of him? Xiaolu, why are you talking to your sister? Li Zixin's face darkened, and she scolded with a straight face, she is still a child, you are the sister. But she said I was a bad person. She's right. Li Chen is your uncle. Do you talk to your elders like this? Li Zixin educated her. She would never tolerate him on matters of principle. You are all bullying me. Li Xiaoliu felt that the whole world collapsed. She was so wrong that she couldn't help crying anymore. Mom doesn't help herself, but helps this outsider. She felt so sad, so sad. Third sister, this. Li Chen was at a loss. Although he got along well with Li Biwu, that was because Li Biwu was well behaved. I have never cried. Now that Li Xiaoliu was crying, he didn't know how to comfort her. Li Biwu, who was held in Li Zixin's arms, looked at Li Xiaolu and cried, with a trace of struggle on his face. Looking at the ordinary fried crab in his hand, he seemed to be making some important decision. Li Biwu reluctantly handed over a crab that he had bitten off a crab leg, and said in a comforting soft and waxy voice, Sister, don't cry. Don't Xiao Wu say that sister is a bad person. Can I give it to you? Daddy said, good children can't cry. Li Xiaoliu, who was crying sadly, was twitching and had snot bubbles coming out of her nose. Looking at the crab Li Xiaoliu handed over and his sincere eyes, Li Xiaoliu slowly stopped crying again. Li Zixin remained silent and watched the whole process. Li Zixin glanced at Li Biwu, who was about to come down, and put her down. Li Biwu took the crab and handed it to Li Xiaoliu with a heartbroken look on his face, and wiped the tears on Li Xiaoliu's face with his greasy hands. As a result, there were no tears on Li Xiaoliu's face, but there was an extra layer of oil. Li Xiaoliu took the crab and stopped crying immediately. "Then you still say I'm a bad person?" Li Biwu shook his head. "Thank you," Li Xiaoliu said, opening his mouth and taking a bite of the crab leg, which was crunchy and crispy. "Is it good?" Li Biwu swallowed her saliva and stared at the crab in Li Xiaoliu's hand. She had completely forgotten that she had another one in her hand. "Delicious," Li Xiaoliu burst into laughter. "I still have some at home," Li Biwu said proudly, "my dad made them for me." "Then, can I still eat them?" Li Biwu's smile faded and she stared at Li Xiaoliu nervously. The two people who had been vaguely on the verge of becoming friends just now, their relationship instantly turned into opposition again. Looking at Li Biwu, who was protecting the food, Li Chen was at a loss whether to laugh or cry, and Li Zixin beside him was also amused. It turned out that his cousin had raised a foodie. "Xiao, take your sister to eat, there are still a lot of them," Li Chen said. Although she was reluctant and her heart ached, Li Biwu still agreed obediently. She has always been protective of food and only listens to her dad. Seeing the big and small kid rushing straight to the crab on the table, Li Chen breathed a sigh of relief. It was okay to deal with one kid, but he was a little overwhelmed when there were two. Li Zixin looked at Li Chen in surprise, staring at Li Chen very uncomfortably. If she remembered correctly, this cousin didn't have such good patience before. It seems that time can really wear down a person's edges. "I didn't expect you to change so much." "People have to change," Li Chen responded calmly. After speaking, there was a long silence between the two. "What are you going to do next?" Li Zixin spoke, also wanting to inquire. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 23. Li Chen pointed to the chair beside him, and the two sat down. "Repay the borrowed money first, and then." Li Chen glanced at his grandfather lying on the bed and said, "Cure grandpa." Hearing this, Li Zixin nodded and said, "That's fine." "Is the money enough?" "Enough," Li Chen nodded solemnly. A trace of surprise flashed in Li Zixin's eyes. She remembered that Li Chen was penniless. "Otherwise, I wouldn't have borrowed money at usury in the first place." Thinking of this, Li Zixin frowned slightly. She felt that Li Chen's pride was still causing trouble. Even if he has no money at this time, he will pretend to be rich for the sake of dignity. "Li Chen, although we can count on one hand the number of times we have met in the past 20 years or so, you have to know that no matter what happens, we will always be your biological relatives." Li Zixin said seriously, "We are not familiar with each other now, and we are very reserved." "I can understand it. But I hope you understand that we are always your relatives. Now you have to take care of your grandfather and have a child. How much money do you have left? It is true that our family is not as good at making money as your parents, but we are not going to stand by and watch as we are supposed to help." Li Chen's eyes flickered slightly. He did not expect Li Zixin to say these words. Seeing the change in Li Chen's expression, Li Zixin thought that she touched a sore spot by mentioning Li Chen's parents. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mention fourth uncle and the others, it's just." "It's okay," Li Chen said with a smile, "third sister, I'm really okay." Li Zixin stared into Li Chen's eyes and found that he did not seem to be lying, and her tense heart slowly relaxed. "It's good to have a little guy following you." Looking at the two children who had turned enemies into friends again, Li Zixin smiled. She was still worried about Li Chen's mental breakdown at first. But seeing that Li Chen was not knocked down, but was doing well, it felt like a big stone fell in his heart. Although Li Chen's child is adopted now, it is better than nothing. After all, Li Chen is not young anymore. It is definitely unrealistic for him to get married and have children now. I am afraid that no one from all over the country would dare to marry him. Having a child is worthy of the 4 dead uncles and 4 aunts. Is it okay for you to take care of the baby by yourself? Li Zixin asked a little worriedly. After all, no matter how careful the rough men are, they are still not as good as women taking care of the baby. Third sister, I have no problem, Li Chen said with a smile. Xiao Wu is very well behaved, there isn't much for me to worry about. You take this little money first. Although Li Zixin believed in Li Chen, she still took out the money. If she hadn't seen Li Biwu, she probably wouldn't have taken it out. But since Li Chen adopted her, she is a child of the Li family. No one can suffer the child. Li Chen hurriedly stood up and avoided saying, "Third sister, I really don't lack money. I plan to pay you back the money you lent me before. What else are you paying for? You have to feed the child first," Li Zixin said with a straight face. Li Chen looked at his third sister, who obviously didn't believe him. He took out his cell phone and said, "I really didn't lie to you." Li Zixin curled her lips and took it over to take a look. She wanted to see how Li Chen could convince her. However, when she saw the balance of Li Chen's account, her expression was as wonderful as a chameleon's. "Li Chen, this money." Li Zixin's face was indescribably serious. She was worried that Li Chen had done something else. "I earned it all," Li Chen said seriously. "You can ask old Dr. Zhao Dezu. My ginseng is very effective and was bought by his friend." Li Zixin couldn't help but believe that Li Chen had moved out of this respected old doctor in the village. If Dr. Zhao really comes forward, then it is really possible. No matter how courageous those people are, they would not dare to openly cause damage here. And she heard that Dr. Zhao's network of connections was quite complicated. Those people may not be afraid of Jiakan, but they will definitely be afraid of Dr. Zhao. Thinking of this, Li Zixin also let out a sigh of relief, but then she said doubtfully, "No, when the harvest is the best in the village, it can't be sold for so much money. How long have you been growing ginseng?" "I bought some from Shanfu and the others, and then mixed them and sold them," Li Chen said without changing his expression. "In addition, I have explored a method myself, which is pretty good. Although the planting period is short, the results are gratifying." Li Zixin's eyes lit up when she heard this. She hasn't read many books, so she doesn't understand much. Li Chen, who is away from home all year round, must have come into contact with many more senior people than her. Therefore, Li Chen's words did not arouse any suspicion in her. "That's good, that's good. By the way, third sister," Li Chen suddenly remembered that Li Zixin still had Dendrobium officinale at home. "This thing is very precious. But again, it can't be sold now. But if it is to follow Zhao Hualiang's path, then it is uncertain. Dendrobium officinale is a rare item, and the demand in the market is huge. Do you sell your Dendrobium officinale?" Li Zixin was startled and sighed. There must be someone who dares to accept it. It's impossible to sell this kind of thing when the village is monitored by those people. "I can help sell it," Li Chen said with joy in his heart. Li Zixin thought of the balance in Li Chen's hand and exclaimed, "You mean, the one introduced by Dr. Zhao?" "Yes, Li Chen is not a heartless person. These poor relatives are almost impoverished themselves, but they still care about him. He has no reason not to help. As for those who are against him, he will naturally ignore them." "This is feasible," Li Zixin couldn't help but said excitedly, "but I still have to ask your third uncle, your third grandpa and the others. It's better to choose a different day than to hit it." Why don't we go there now? Li Chen's heart moved. This is another rare opportunity. Collect the things that Li Zixin's family can't sell, cultivate them with vitality water, and then resell them. In this way, the third sister's family has financial income, and she can still make money. No matter how she calculates, she will not lose money. Li Zixin is also an activist. If Li Chen didn't take out the previous balance, she wouldn't believe it even a comma. But it was different now. She believed Li Chen's words at least 8%. If Li Chen could use this method to revitalize the village, then the hostility of most people in the village towards him and the hatred towards his parents will be offset. No one can live with money. Xiaolu, go back. Li Zixin shouted. Unfortunately, the two little girls who were so enthusiastic about eating the crabs didn't want to move at all. Li Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Did Xiao Wu meet his opponent? Bring all the crabs with you. If you want to eat them, I will cook them for you when the time comes. Li Biwu, who was originally not happy with Li Xiaolu taking away the crabs here, immediately let go after hearing Li Chen's words. The relationship between the two was like enemies and friends, which made Li Chen feel uncomfortable. Xiao Wu, sister, can I give you a hug? Li Xiaolu thought that she was no longer the youngest, and she felt very happy. No, I want a hug. We still have a lot of delicious food at home, and there are also red grapes today. Sister, I want a hug. Li Chen, who had just stretched out his hand, watched Li Biwu run towards his sister whom he had only known for more than 10 minutes, leaving Li Chen with a beautiful look on the back of his head. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 24. Li Xiaolu may not like Li Chen, but he likes Li Biwu very much. Almost all creatures were the cutest and most popular when they were children. Li Biwu knew that Li Chen was going to Li Xiaolu's house with her, so she wouldn't let go until she got something delicious. It just so happened that Li Xiaolu didn't want to let go either. In the past, she was the youngest in the family, and her status was almost non-existent. Her brothers and sisters always laughed at her for being black, which made her feel very hurt. Li Biwu is different, just give him food. Li Chen and Li Zixin walked side by side, and their speed was relatively fast, mainly because the sun was too strong. Li Zixin's mother, Li Yinghui, is resting at home. It's too hot to go out, otherwise she will suffer from heat stroke. My uncle was lying on a bamboo couch, holding a rice dumpling leaf fan and fanning his aunt while shaking it. The old man Li Chuanxing is reading a book in the house. Even though the Li family is poor, Grandpa Li Chen's generation, including the eldest grandfather Li Chuanzhao, the second grandfather Li Chuangzhen, and the third grandfather Li Chuanxing, are all serious scholars. Back then, the Li family was a prosperous and wealthy family, but no one could explain why it declined. After that, the three members of the Li family would not leave Jia village even if they were beaten to death. It wasn't until Li Chen's father's generation that he walked out alone. But he is also dead. Li Chen vaguely felt that there was a lot to it. But the death of parents made everyone keep it secret. Grandpa Li Chuanlong is now unconscious, and none of the three grandfathers are willing to see him. Thinking of the four of them working alone outside, and the fact that his parents were targeted to death, Li Chen vaguely felt that there was something hugely fishy in this. It's a pity that he doesn't have the strength or foundation now, and he doesn't dare to ask. Even after following his third sister Li Zixin this time, he felt a little guilty. He is the purest third generation of the Li family, but because he is away from home all year round and only comes back once every few years, the relationship is not close. Back then, he had not experienced these big changes, and his eyes were full of arrogance, and he even looked down on his relatives in the countryside. I feel ashamed of their existence. Now, Li Chen feels deeply ashamed. He has repented now, but his parents have left forever. Feeling Li Chen walking slower and slower beside him, Li Zixin said, afraid of calling me grandpa. Li Chen did not deny it. He still remembered that when he was young and ignorant, he said that the three parties of the Li family were just a bunch of country bumpkins. Among them, the one he scolded the most was the third grandfather, Li Chuanxing. Li Chen now feels guilty for no reason. If grandpa sees these changes in you, he will definitely blame you. Li Zixin comforted, everyone makes mistakes sometimes. The important thing is whether they know how to repent. Li Chen didn't refute. Li Xiaoliu started shouting into the house from a distance, "Grandpa, great-grandpa, I'm back." Uncle Li Changxiang, who had always doted on his daughter, ran out immediately. But when he saw Li Xiaoliu sweating profusely and holding a little girl, he was still stunned for a moment. "Who is she?" Li Changxiang looked at his granddaughter Li Xiaoliu. "My uncle's daughter." Li Changxiang frowned slightly. And, uncle." Li Biwu rolled his big eyes, then shouted timidly, and took out a crab from the bag in his hand. The big dark eyes were full of innocence, and the greasy little hands held out a crab. In Li Biwu's world, there may be nothing that cannot be settled by food. If so, get two more. When Li Changxiang heard this call of uncle, his heart trembled. Why? Somehow, Li Changxiang subconsciously responded. This soft voice almost made his heart melt. Seeing the sweat on his granddaughter and Li Biwu's forehead, Li Changxiang subconsciously took Li Biwu and held her in his arms. "Uncle." Li Biwu raised the crab and said. "Grandpa won't eat?" The wrinkles on Li Changxiang's face stretched out. This little guy is really smart. The key is that the soft and waxy little milk sound makes people's hearts melt when they hear it. "Come in quickly." Li Changxiang hugged Li Biwu and urged Li Xiaoliu, "Where is your mother?" "I'm with my uncle in the back." Li Xiaoliu entered the room, picked up his teapot, and guzzled a full teacup of water. Although the crab is delicious, it is still quite salty. In addition, the weather is hot, so it is impossible not to replenish water. Li Yinghui also stood up, looking at Li Changxiang hugging Li Biwu, smiling like a blooming chrysanthemum, and was very speechless. "Xiao Wu, this is your aunt." "Auntie." Li Biwu shouted timidly, "Auntie." This little guy took a crab that he never sent out and aimed it at Li Yinghui again. Li Yinghui was a little hesitant. After all, she had heard the rumors about this little girl. But he really couldn't resist such a cute and sensible attack, so any hesitation in his heart was instantly thrown away. When Li Yinghui and Li Changxiang were captured by Li Biwu, Li Chen and Li Zixin finally arrived. When Li Chen arrived, the two of them did not stand up, acting rather indifferently. "And, uncle," Li Chen shouted. Li Changxiang was teasing Li Biwu, pointing to the chair and saying, "Sit." The attitude is always neither salty nor bland. Li Chen nodded, and Li Zixin prepared tea for him. Perhaps because he heard the noise outside, the still strong third grandfather Li Chuanxing came out. However, when he saw Li Chen's face, Li Chuanxing's old face immediately fell. Li Chen quickly stood up and called third grandfather in a reserved manner. Li Chuanxing just snorted coldly and didn't want to pay attention to Li Chen. "Xiao Wu, call me great-grandfather." Li Biwu stared at her big black and round eyes and said in a baby voice, "Great-grandfather." Li Biwu, with a face full of collagen, slightly raised his head 45 degrees and stared at Li Chuanxing, who looked quite serious. Li Chuanxing came over immediately. He found that the child's eyes were too smart and he was not afraid of him at all. "What's your name?" "Xiao Wu." Li Chuanxing's eyes fell on Li Biwu's eyebrows and asked, "Where is your father?" "Here." Li Biwu pointed at Li Chen proudly and said, although it was a baby voice, it was said firmly. Li Chuanxing found the little girl in front of him more and more interesting, so he picked her up and said, "Aren't you afraid of the great-grandfather?" "No." Li Biwu shook her head, and her braids were placed on Li Chuanxing's beard, making Li Chuanxing feel a little itchy. The great-grandfather is very fierce, and you are not afraid. Just when Li Chen and others were nervous, Li Biwu used her little hand that had not been wiped clean of oil and water to push the corners of Li Chuangxing's mouth slightly up with two white index fingers. Li Chen's heart suddenly tightened when he saw this. This little girl was too presumptuous. He. Li Biwu said with a smile, when the great-grandfather smiles, he is naturally not fierce at all. Li Chuanxing never thought that this little guy would make him smile manually. Li Chuanxing couldn't help laughing. He didn't like the reserved little girl. Li Biwu's boldness made him feel good. The next second, what Li Biwu said made everyone feel painful. When Daddy didn't bring Xiao Wu home, those people were so fierce. They beat Xiao Wu and didn't give her food. They were fierce. Great-grandfather is not fierce at all. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 25. The origin of Li Biwu cannot be concealed. It's not a secret either. Both Li Yinghui and his wife and the old man knew it very well. They know Li Chen's current situation better than anyone else. As long as the Li family is bullied for one day, Li Chen will most likely remain single. They may not like Li Chen or be dissatisfied with Li Chen's parents, but if this child recognizes the ancestors of the Li family, then he will be a child of the Li family. They will not deny this. If this child becomes Li Chen's child, then the child will be the son of the Li family. Therefore, Li Chuanxing and the others made it very clear that adults and children are two different things. They all just heard the rumors about Li Biwu's Tianxia Lone Star, but is this really the truth? Not necessarily. The Li family's situation couldn't get any worse, so what if we take in another Tianxia Lone Star? Li Chuanxing looked at Li Biwu, but a trace of doubt arose in his heart. Before he picked her up, he felt that this girl was inexplicably similar to Li Chen. It is said that two people who have been together for a long time will affect each other's appearance, especially couples. But Li Chen and Li Biwu have only been together for a few days. Not only the eyebrows and eyes are similar, but the noses are too. However, Li Chuanxing didn't ask any more questions. Of course, it is not ruled out that Li Chen messed around and gave birth to a child with a certain woman. I met Li Chen again by chance. But this chance is almost zero. More importantly, the kid Li Biwu is very exciting and lovable. Although he had a sullen face, he liked the child's cleverness. Regardless of the source, it was because he had just heard Li Biwu talk about being abused, and he was afraid of touching the little girl's sadness. Xiao Wu will no longer be bullied by others. Li Chuanxing smiled and said, whoever bullies Xiao Wu in the future, Grandpa will help you avenge him. Really? Li Biwu's eyes lit up. Of course it's true, Li Chuanxing couldn't help but admire, it was so similar. Is there really such a coincidence in this world? Li Biwu chuckled, Xiao Wu also has a great-grandfather, so Xiao Wu doesn't have to be bullied. Li Chuanxing held Li Biwu up and down, making Li Biwu laugh constantly. Li Changxiang and Li Yinghui both breathed a sigh of relief, and the low air pressure in the room also relaxed a bit. Are you coming today? Aunt Li Yinghui asked. Oh, I just want to see if you can sell Dendrobium officinale, Li Chen said. Li Changxiang frowned and said in a low voice, what do you want to do? Sell for money. Li Chen bluntly said that he found that the old man ignored him now and concentrated on playing with Li Biwu. Who dares to collect things from our village now? Li Changxiang sneered. Uncle, I have sold the ginseng, Li Chen said calmly. If nothing unexpected happens, I will start deeper cooperation with others in the future. Of course, we are still testing the waters. If it stabilizes, we can break their blockade in the future. Mr. Li Chuanxing, who was holding Li Biwu, also slowly slowed down and listened carefully. Old Dr. Zhao Dezu helped me take the lead in this matter. Li Chen took out his mobile phone and put it on the table. This is the person who cooperated with me. Today I just sold more than 200,000 yuan. Li Changxiang and Li Yinghui's expressions changed, and they quickly picked up Li Chen's mobile phone. Logically speaking, Li Chen should not expose his money prematurely at this time. After all, these relatives may also rebel. However, Li Chen was gambling in his heart. He bets that none of these relatives will betray him. Even if it's very unfriendly to him now. Li Changxiang glanced at the old man and nodded. A smile appeared on the corner of the latter's mouth. He didn't know what the smile meant. Li Yinghui couldn't help but ask, "Then what do you mean?" "He means that now is a good opportunity. There are too many medical materials in the village that cannot be sold. If through this channel, the outside world knows that the medicinal materials here are very good, maybe the blockade of those people will be broken." Li Zixan said for Li Chen, he now has a way to deepen the cultivation and make the medicinal materials more valuable, and the experiment has been successful. Buy it from us, give us a high price, and then sell it at a higher price. The amount of goods we have accumulated will be alleviated, and you can have money for turnover, and he can also make money. If it works for us, he will start by selecting people from the village. After Li Changxiang and Li Yinghui heard their daughter's explanation, they immediately understood Li Chen's next intention. The Li family can no longer make enemies. At least, not now. If Li Chen's plan succeeds, he will gain a lot. Can do. Just when Li Changxiang and Li Yinghui had not made a decision, the old man Li Chuanxing suddenly spoke. He put Li Biwu on his lap, then put the peeled crab into Li Biwu's mouth. Li Changxiang and Li Yinghui glanced at Li Chuanxing subconsciously, but he just said this and stopped talking. "How much do you want?" Li Yinghui asked. Since Dad has already agreed, they will naturally not object. "Let's test the water with a few kilograms first. If it works, I'll take more," Li Chen said. "Good." Li Changxiang stood up directly and planned to take Li Chen to pick the complete ones first. The medicinal value of Dendrobium officinale is very high. It mainly produces fluid and nourishes the stomach, nourishes yin and clears heat, moistens the lungs and kidneys, improves eyesight, and strengthens the waist. Now 9 out of 10 people are in sub-health, mostly because of these problems. They have money, but their health is poor. In addition, everyone is paying attention to their health, and this thing is not produced in large quantities, resulting in a constant shortage of supply in the market. In the current market, Dendrobium officinale is also divided into many origins and characteristics, so the prices are also very different. The expensive ones can be thousands of yuan per catty, and the cheapest ones are also 300 or 400. In mountainous areas like Therljia village, the altitude is not low, and the humid climate and half-shade and half-sun environment are just suitable for their growth. Li Chen followed Li Changxiang to pick them, and they all kept their integrity, because Li Chen still needed to try transplanting. If there is no prerequisite of vitality water, it is probably not possible. But Li Chen has it, so he is not afraid. A total of 5 caddies were picked. In the past, the Dendrobium officinale here was sold for about 400 or 500, and the price can only be regarded as the bottom price in the market. Li Chen directly offered a purchase price of 600. Li Yinghui and Li Changxiang were naturally unwilling. After all, the price offered by Li Chen was too high. "Aunt, uncle, listen to me, since I dare to accept it, I will never do a loss-making business," Li Chen persuaded. "If I sell it, I will come to buy it later." Li Chen showed a certain strength at this moment. Soon, Li Chen transferred 3,000 yuan into his aunt Li Yinghui's account. Ding, detecting the host's consumption, the 5-fold rebate has been triggered, and 15,000 yuan has been received. With the money he earned before, Li Chen no longer looked down on this rebate. But if he doesn't consume, there will be no return points. Without return points, there will be no vitality water, and all plans will be impossible to carry out. Li Yinghui and Li Changxiang still felt a little incredible. After all, they haven't sold this thing for a long time. If Li Chen really tore a hole in the blockade of those people, then the situation will really be different. Suddenly, they were a little excited. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami. Chapter 26. Say goodbye to great-grandfather. Goodbye, great-grandfather. Li Biwu waved her little hands, her crescent eyes full of smiles. Li Chuanxing also waved to Li Biwu. Li Xiaolai was still reluctant to let this little sister go home. After holding Li Biwu and carrying the Dendrobium officinale home, Li Chen glanced at the system. There are already 31 return points. First, transplant the young Dendrobium officinale and exchange it for vitality water for watering. These are all the key points for the next step. Li Yi seems very careful. This time only exchanged 1 drop, there are still 29 return points left, no hurry to use. Take a look at the balance, it has reached 420,000. Excluding the high-interest loan to be repaid, there is only a little over 200,000 left. This more than 200,000 may not be enough to find all the Chinese herbal medicines for detoxification for grandpa. Because it is too scarce, the price is very high. Dad, I want to go play with them. When Li Biwu came back, he saw the little friends in the village playing in the fields. They are all little brats. Li Chen glanced at Li Biwu, with expectation in his dark eyes. Since she came to the village, she has hardly played with other children. No matter how sensible she is still a child. Children are eager for playmates. Thinking of this, Li Chen squatted down and said, "Then go." Li Biwu laughed when he heard it, smacked Li Chen on the face, and went straight to the group of children. Looking at Li Biwu's excited back, Li Chen smiled and turned around to get busy. It would be a good thing if Li Biwu could integrate into the children in the village. Children are at the age of playing at this time. It would be more fun to have a few friends. Li Biwu ran to the edge of the field with anticipation. Her beautiful big eyes looked at the bubble-blowing toys in their hands. She had never played with this thing before. "Can I play with you?" The oldest of the children was only 6 years old, and the others were only 4 or 5 years old. "Who are you?" "My name is Xiao." Li Biwu approached timidly, her eyes fixed on the bubble machine. Just when Lin Xiaoqing was about to approach, Zhou Tong pulled Lin Xiaoqing's hand and pointed at Li Biwu with a serious face, saying, "Don't play with her." Li Biwu, who came with the intention of making friends, was stunned on the spot. Lin Xiaoqing turned her head and looked at Zhou Tong, the oldest, and said, "Sister Tong Tong, why?" "Ching Ching, didn't your mother tell you? She is a disaster star." "What is a disaster star?" Zhou Tong was obviously also asked, her face flushed, and said, "It's a jinx." Li Biwu's face changed immediately. "My mom told me not to play with her. She's a jinx. She killed a lot of people outside." Zhou Tong snorted, with hostility in her eyes. "I don't want to die." After hearing this, several little boys who were originally attracted by Li Biwu's beauty all stepped back silently. "I'm not." Li Biwu looked at these little friends who were all distanced from her and argued. "You are what you are." Zhou Tong pointed at Li Biwu and said, "You are a jinx. Don't play with you. Go away. I don't want to die. Ghost, jinx." Lin Xiaoqing was also scared when she saw her companions rejecting Li Biwu. She didn't dare to get close to Li Biwu. Although she liked this strange little friend at first sight. "Kill the jinx. My mom said she is a disaster and will kill us. Beat her. Drive her away." Zhou Tong took the lead and picked up a small piece of soil on the ground and threw it at Li Biwu. Children are naturally like that, and there are not too many right and wrong. When Zhou Tong took the lead, all the children laughed together. I'm not," Don't hit me. Li Biwa cried loudly, crying and running back, I'm not a jinx, I'm not a jinx. Zhou Tong and others chased Li Biwa and beat her, picking up weeds and other things from the ground, all falling on Li Biwa's head and body. Li Chen, who was about to work, suddenly heard Li Biwa crying and ran over to take a look. What are you doing? Li Chen said angrily. Li Biwa cried and threw herself into Li Chen's arms, her little body twitching. Although Zhou Tong and others were young, they were not afraid of Li Chen at all. She is a jinx, and so are you. Li Chen had a gloomy face, and the little girl in front of him seemed to be a child of the Zhou family. My mother said that your family is all bad people, No one is allowed to play with her in the future. Let's go. Zhou Tong and others threatened and ran away with the bubble machine. Li Biwu in his arms cried very sadly, holding Li Chen tightly and refusing to let go. I'm not. Li Chen hugged the little girl with heartache, patted her back gently, and comforted her softly, Dad knows you're not. Little Wu, don't cry. Li Biwu, who has always been well behaved and sensible, was touched by sad things again this time. She cried very loudly, and no matter how Li Chen comforted her, it didn't work. Li Chen had never taken care of a baby, and didn't even know how to comfort her. Li Biwu, whose eyes were swollen from crying, stopped crying now, but she was not happy at all. She hugged Li Chen and didn't say anything. This was the first time Li Chen saw Li Biwu like this. Whether telling jokes or taking food, Li Biwu was silent. Li Chen was also a little helpless and annoyed. Children don't know anything, and sometimes they are even extremely selfish. Zhou Tong is 6 years old. Children nowadays are very smart. He doesn't believe that this little girl is not sensible at all. Li Biwu just wanted to find a playmate, but Zhou Tong directly used the past to stimulate her. This made Li Chen think of Zhou Jiang's family. The Zhou family has been hostile to him for a long time. At the beginning, Li Biwu and him were not driven away. I'm afraid that the Zhou family has already instilled this idea into their children. Otherwise, how would those little brats know this? But can Li Chen care about children? Obviously not. Li Biwu was depressed and didn't speak, and even didn't smile. This also affected Li Chen's mood. He had to think of a way. Li Chen clicked on the system mall and suddenly found that the mall had already opened some products. Super Bubble Machine. Thinking of Li Biwu staring at the other party's toys before, Li Chen understood. His eyes fell on this toy. Li Chen noticed this when Li Biwu went to play with them just now. 48 return points. Li Chen looked at the price and frowned slightly. What the hell is this? A broken bubble machine is so expensive. So Yuankai water is really the least valuable? Looking at his only 29 return points, it means he still needs 19. Li Chen clicked on the system and his eyes fell on the exchange. System, is there any other way to get return points besides spending money? Can be exchanged with wealth. Seeing the prompt on the system, Li Chen's eyes lit up. What is the exchange ratio? 1:20,000. Li Chen. System, are you messing with my mentality? He almost exploded. In reality, you only need to spend 1,000 to get 1 return point. But using your own money to exchange the system's return points actually costs 20,000. Damn it, why don't you go rob? Seeing that he had finally collected 420,000 yuan, it was probably impossible to keep it now. Li Biwu in his arms was depressed, with dull eyes, which made Li Chen feel sorry for her. This little girl brought him a lot of joy in the few days she was here. I have to do something. Li Chen sighed and clicked the redemption button. You will be redeemed for 20 refund points which will cost 400,000 yuan. Are you sure? Li Chen felt a pain in his flesh. This system is really a pitfall. He was wondering why so much was returned. It turned out that there was a routine waiting for him. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 27. Sure. Li Chen didn't care too much about the money. If he could make his daughter happy, he would be willing to spend 400,000. With a ding, 400,000 of Li Chen's 420,000 wealth disappeared directly. And the data in the return point column has changed dramatically. Host, Li Chen. Wealth, 26,071. Skills, primary fighting skills. Return points, 49. Return level, 5 times. 39,000/2000000. Currency exchange, 1:20,000. The personal panel column has changed. The 400,000 yuan disappeared directly, and his consumption was not counted as a refund. He was equivalent to returning to the pre-liberation era overnight. Clicking on the commodity supermarket, Li Chen decisively used 48 return points to exchange for a super bubble machine. Super bubble machine, unlimited use, can release single color bubbles or color bubbles. After Li Chen exchanged, a new line of prompts appeared in the system. Seeing this, Li Chen felt better. If he spent so much money to exchange for an ordinary thing, it would be funny. With the thought, Li Chen had a unique bubble machine that looked like a pistol in his hand. Xiao Wu. Look what this is! Li Chen shouted. The little girl in his arms was still sad, twitching, staring at Li Chen's chest with dull eyes. Li Chen raised the bubble machine, looked at the color adjustment button, and released a red bubble. The bubble flew out of the bubble machine and landed in front of Li Biwu. Li Biwu's slightly absent-minded eyes gradually focused on the red bubble. Li Chen pressed again, this time it was orange. One bubble after another flew out of the bubble machine and floated around. In the sun, these bubbles reflected beautiful colors. Li Biwu's eyes finally had spirit, and she stared at the bubble machine in Li Chen's hand. Want to play? Li Chen held up the bubble machine and said with a smile, this is a gift prepared by Dad for you. Really? Li Biwu's dark and bright eyes began to radiate spirit. Although her eyelashes were still wet, it was obvious that her attention had been attracted by this wonderful bubble machine. Of course it's real. Li Chen breathed a sigh of relief, as he had spent a huge fortune to buy it. If Li Biwu still looked depressed, he would really have no tricks. Li Biwu happily took it and sat on Li Chen's lap. Only with two small hands could she hold the bubble machine. Biu Biu. Li Biwu dubbed herself and shot bubbles at Li Chen. Ah, Dad got hit. Li Chen made an exaggerated expression of being shot, and his expression looked a little funny. Then I won't play poop. Li Biwu immediately stopped and stretched out her small hand to help Li Chen rub his chest. Seeing Li Biwu so considerate, Li Chen's eyes were full of love. Although this is not her own child, it is better than her own. Li Biwu got off Li Chen's lap with the bubble machine, and the little yellow dog Daodu was already running over with his cheerful short legs. Woof woof. The little puppy made an excited cry, chasing bubbles of different colors. Daodu, come on. Li Biwu giggled, and the bubble machine in her hand shot continuously. Red, white, orange, and colorful. The sky was full of colorful bubbles. As she ran, the little yellow dog Daodu chased after her little master, making two milky sounds from time to time. As if saying, little master, wait for me. Huh. Li Chen breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this. After taking care of his little beast, Li Chen couldn't help wiping his sweat. It's really not easy to take care of a child. Looking at Li Biwu's chest that was wet with tears just now, Li Chen was too lazy to change his clothes. Now that Li Biwu has a toy, she has forgotten the sad things just now. This is a good thing for Li Chen. Originally, he had planned to use the money to buy an air conditioner or something. After all, the house was already warm. Now he only had more than 20,000 yuan left, and everything had to start all over again. and there was only 1 week left to repay the loan. If he couldn't repay it, Zhou Zhang and others would not let it go. Li Chen's eyes fell on the butter crabs in his own water tank. He had said he would not sell them before, but now he couldn't not sell them. He still had to continue to buy ginseng, so that he could get money and return points in the shortest time. Now he only had one return point, and he couldn't even exchange it for a drop of vitality water. Just when Li Chen was about to continue to look for Li Shanfu and others to buy ginseng, Zhou Zhang came with a group of his younger brothers. "Hey, what are you going to do, Master Li?" Zhou Zhang looked at Li Chen with ill intentions, and a group of younger brothers looked at Li Chen jokingly. "What young master? He's just a dog of a poor family. The eldest young master is still borrowing high-interest loans. I wonder if he can pay it back in a week." Li Chen looked at Zhou Zhang calmly and said, "Are you here to show off?" Zhou Zhang grinned and said, "Mr. Li, this is too formal. I just came to remind you that the day to pay back the debt is coming soon. Don't blame me if you can't pay it back. We are all from the same village. Isn't there still a week left? After a week, I will pay you back in full," Li Chen said calmly. "Okay, I like Li Xiao's straightforward personality." Zhou Zhang applauded and laughed. "I heard that Li Xiao has been buying medicinal herbs in the village recently. What's the matter? Want to make a fortune and earn a favor at the same time?" Li Chen did not respond. "Do you really think you are a young master? Your parents are dead." The younger brother next to him spat a mouthful of thick phlegm. "You have lost everything and owed a lot of debts, but you are still pretending here, pretending to be your mother." As soon as the voice fell, Li Chen punched him. The younger brother was unable to react in time and was hit hard in the face. He fell to the ground with a wail, and his mouth was bleeding. The others who wanted to mock him also shut their mouths obediently. Zhou Zhang narrowed his eyes. He forgot that Li Chen was still a bit of a hand. "Brother Zhang. That's enough." Zhou Zhang didn't plan to confront Li Chen at this time. "You cursed his mother, so he deserved to punch you." The younger brother was silent immediately. Zhou Zhang stepped forward and looked at Li Chen face to face. "Boy, although I don't know why you are buying these ginsengs now, I advise you to be honest. If you don't want to follow in the footsteps of your parents, just be good. Otherwise, you won't even know how to die." Li Chen narrowed his eyes. "Oh, by the way, I have to tell you one more thing. If you can't pay the money, she may also be taken away to pay off the debt. Do you dare?" Yo, so fierce, who are you trying to scare?" Zhou Zhang sneered, his tone became gloomy. "There are still 7 days left, hurry up to collect the money. If you can't, I will sell her." Haha. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 28. Watching Zhou Zhang wave and lead people away with a proud laugh, a chill flashed in Li Chen's eyes. A bastard like Zhou Zhang is more courageous than most people. A normal person would not be able to say something like selling a child, except to scare the child. When Zhou Zhang said that he would sell Li Biwu if he could not repay the loan shark, he was definitely not joking. Diamond sued. Li Chen took a deep breath and calmed down the anger in his heart. Now I still have to fight for money. Although he just spent 400,000 yuan, he didn't feel bad at all. For Li Biwu, the money is worth spending. With 5 times the rebate in hand, if I can't even deal with this little trouble, I'll just die. "Papa, will you sell Xiao Wu?" Just when Li Chen was stunned, Li Biwu ran over with a bubble machine and looked at Li Chen nervously with his big eyes. Li Chen could see the tension and worry in the little guy's eyes. Li Chen slowly squatted down, rubbed her little head and said, "Xiao Wu is so cute, how can Dad let her go?" "Xiao Wu can't bear to leave Daddy." The little girl hugged Li Chen and gently rubbed Li Chen's cheek. "Okay, you play with Daodu by yourself, Daddy still has to work." Li Biwu's worries came and went quickly. Li Chen looked at Li Biwu's cheerful appearance, and his thoughts became more determined. Pay off the debt and save Grandpa. Create a better living environment for Xiao. I looked at my balance and saw that I still had 26,000, which was enough. I can still brush it up in a week. Li Chen carried a pesticide machine and a large bucket from home. The weeds in the field were thick and pesticides needed to be sprayed. There is a pond next to the house, so it is easy to get water. Li Chen followed the pesticide instructions, evenly poured it into the pesticide machine, and finally poured water into it. Now he is very good at doing these things. At the beginning, he didn't dare to touch them at all. Because in his previous life, there was no concept of pesticides at all. He thought that when all the crops grow, there is no need to worry about anything, just sow them. Later, he realized that everything could be eaten by insects. Not to mention the weeds on the ground. If you don't get rid of these, your things will be in bad luck. There are only 1 or 2 oil sprayers in Jiakan, and the rest are basically hand-cranked. The left hand is holding the spray pole for spraying pesticides, and the right hand has an iron waste pole at the waist. It's almost the same as the shaker outside the well. Li Chen wore a straw hat, a mask, and long sleeves, walking among the fields. Spraying this large field evenly would take an hour at the fastest. After all, the water capacity of this pesticide machine is limited. A field requires at least 5 barrels of water, so that all aspects can be taken care of. By the time Li Chen was halfway through the fight, Li Biwu was already squatting on the edge of the field with his little yellow dog Daodu, holding his chin with both hands, looking at Li Chen who was working hard, in a daze. "Xiao Wu, stay away." Li Chen saw it and shouted. Li Biwu was so surprised that he let out 2 woos and took the little yellow dog back a certain distance. The entrance to Ljia village at this time. A car drove in slowly. "Hello fellow, how can I get to Li Chen's house?" Li Xiaoan asked as the car window rolled down. "Just go straight in," the fellow pointed the way to Li Xiaoan and said, "The road here is not easy to walk, please slow down." "Okay, thank you." Li Xiaoan smiled very politely. After closing the car window, Li Xiaoan looked at the uneven dirt road. She was bumpy all the way and almost couldn't drive in. A lot of paint was wiped off the car body. Thanks to her excellent skills, otherwise something might really happen. Although Li Xiaoqi, who was sitting in the back, also had a strong stomach churn, she endured it. "Sister, why are there still places with no access roads in the village?" Li Xiaoan continued to drive slowly. There were a lot of people coming and going in the village, so she didn't dare to drive fast, and she couldn't do it. Li Xiaoqi said, "Although many places have now been lifted out of poverty and become rich, you must know that there will always be some remote places that cannot be taken care of so quickly." Li Xiaoqi looked at the green scenery outside the window and suddenly felt that her mood was much better. She likes the atmosphere of wilderness and nature very much. The wheat waves in the fields sway in the wind, and green plants such as rapeseed flowers and corn can be seen everywhere. This is the real countryside, this is the real beauty. Li Xiaoan looked at the scattered houses in the village. There were very few buildings, and most of them were old-fashioned buildings. If she hadn't often followed Li Xiaoqi, she wouldn't have believed that such a primitive and backward place existed. No wonder the country wants to alleviate poverty. Without the help of the state, I believe there are still many villages like this one, still disconnected from the outside world, and still living the old era life of men farming and women weaving. The environment of such a place with beautiful mountains and clear waters is certainly good, but can the person my sister is looking for really sell butter crabs? Li Xiaoan didn't expect that it would take 15 minutes to drive from the village to Li Chen's home. Until her eyes fell on a man with an extremely handsome face who was carrying a pesticide machine, Li Xiaoan felt a sense of relief. Because she finally didn't have to drive anymore, she was so nervous that she couldn't hold herself any longer. "Li Chen." Li Xiaoan stopped the car and shouted. Li Chen, who was carrying a pesticide machine, turned around and saw a woman who was dressed quite pretty sticking her head out. "Who are you?" Li Chen looked at the other person in surprise. He was sure that he didn't know the other person. "I'm Li Xiaoan." After Li Xiaoan introduced herself, Li Xiaoqi behind the car also rolled down the window, revealing an extremely delicate face. "I'm Li Xiaoqi, the one from Duyan." Li Chen looked at the two women and was stunned for a moment. How did they find this place? The road into the village was so dangerous and so bad, and they actually drove in? Of course he remembered Li Xiaoqi. Before, Li Xiaoqi gave a gift and said she wanted to buy butter crabs, and Li Chen just thought she was addicted to food. But now, she actually ran all the way here for butter crabs, and Li Chen couldn't help but wonder about her real purpose. If she ran so far just to eat a butter crab, he didn't believe it. "I know you." Although Li Chen didn't like Li Xiaoqi and the others to come over on their own initiative, it would be bad if he continued to show his displeasure since they were already here. Li Xiaoqi immediately got out of the car, and said with a hint of apology on her delicate face, "Sorry, I came to you without your permission." "It's okay." Li Chen waved his hand and pointed to his own low house and said, "You go sit for a while, I still have to finish the last bucket of water." Li Xiaoan got permission and immediately drove the car to the door of Li Chen's house. Li Biwu, who was on the ground, brought the little yellow dog Daodu and looked at Li Xiaoan, who got out of the car with curiosity. "Xiao, are you Xiao?" Li Xiaoan immediately screamed excitedly when she saw Li Biwu, who looked like a porcelain doll. "This child is cuter and more likable than the one in the camera." "I'm Xiao, who are you, sister?" Li Biwu asked with her big black and round eyes. I am your fan." "What kind of fan? Can I be a fan?" "Li Xiaoan. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 29. Li Xiaoan held Li Biwu and sat on the chair, and the two of them had a lot of fun playing with the bubble machine. Li Xiaoqi quietly watched the figure who was spraying pesticides. She still couldn't believe it. Li Chen, who didn't look like a rural person at all, looked good even when spraying pesticides. She could even feel the hidden pride of Li Chen, and temperament was something that went deep into his bones. Although Li Chen is a farmer now, she felt that the man in front of her didn't look like a farmer at all. Li Xiaoqi was very patient and would watch Li Chen for a while, so she walked around to take a look. When Li Chen finished the last bucket of water, Li Biwu ran over immediately. "Dad can't hold you, there is medicine on your body." Li Chen looked at the little girl who wanted to hold him again and smiled. Li Biwu heard this, and there was some disappointment on her little face. Li Chen looked at the clothes that were stained with medicine and walked into the house. "Miss Li. Call me Xiaoqi," Li Xiaoqi said. Li Chen nodded and said, "I'll trouble you to wait a little longer. I'll take a shower first." "Okay," Li Xiaoqi nodded, not dissatisfied. "Xiao, be good," Li Chen said to the little girl. Yeah, Li Biwu now has two beautiful sisters to accompany her, so she is not afraid of not having playmates at all. Li Chen boiled water to take a shower and washed his clothes by the way. After applying pesticides, the smell on the body is very bad. But after washing, the whole person becomes refreshed. When Li Chen came out, Li Xiaoan was stunned. Although she thought Li Chen was very handsome during the live broadcast, the direct gaze on the camera was completely different from the direct gaze in reality. Li Chen, who washed his hair, did not blow his hair, but rubbed it casually, but had a kind of messy handsomeness. Crystal clear water drops dripped from the ends of his hair, making him even more handsome invisibly. "Daddy." Even though Li Xiaoqi and Li Xiaoan were both beautiful sisters, Li Bi was still rushed over when she saw Li Chen coming out. Li Chen smiled, a brilliant smile on his handsome face, and even Lee Zioki was stunned this time. She had seen many so-called handsome men, and even occasionally had the opportunity to meet those so-called handsome boys. Although that was also very handsome, the smile of Li Chen in front of him killed those so-called handsome men in an instant. Li Chen picked up Li Biwu with one hand, pointed to the chair in front of him and smiled, "Are you here for the butter crab?" "Yeah." Li Zioki turned her eyes away and looked at Li Chen's face from a close distance. She was actually a little guilty. "If I don't sell it to you, won't you make a wasted trip?" Li Chen asked while teasing Li Biwu. The faces of Li Zioki and Li Xiaoan changed slightly. Of course, they had considered this. But, they had a reason to come. "Whether there is a chance or not, you have to give it a try." Li Zioki answered the question very seriously, "At least, I won't have any regrets." "No regrets?" Li Chen nodded and said, "There are still a few big butter crabs." "Two are enough," Li Zioki said immediately, and his heartbeat accelerated a bit. Li Chen wanted to say that the little butter crabs were almost grown up. But Li Zioki spoke too quickly, so he couldn't say the following words at all. "Okay," Li Chen said. Li Zioki, who had been prepared to be rejected, widened her beautiful phoenix eyes and looked at Li Chen in surprise. "Although I don't know what you bought it for, I can't refuse it if you can run so far." Hearing this, the two sisters Li Zioki and Li Xiaoan were overjoyed. "Thank you." Li Chen put Li Biwu down and said, "You're welcome." "Can I see the butter crabs you raised?" Li Zioki asked a little stiffly. "Sure." Li Chen stood up and walked to the side of the house with the two girls. Li Xiaoan had already taken out the live broadcast equipment and said, "Brother Chen, do you mind if I start a live broadcast?" Li Chen wanted to refuse, but when he thought of Li Zioki being there, he shook his head. "Sister, Xiao wants to watch it too." "Okay, sister will hold you for you to watch." Li Zioki smiled. She liked this little girl with bright eyes. When she saw her, she couldn't help but have the idea of having one herself. Li Zioki picked up Li Biwu, and Li Xiaoan turned on the camera. At the beginning of the screen, it was Li Chen, Li Zioki, and Li Biwu holding each other. Damn it! Oh my god! Li Zioki was notified when she started a live broadcast. Those die-hard fans received the prompt at the first time. So they clicked on the live broadcast room one after another. Unexpectedly, the screen was a picture of three people under the golden sunset with natural rural green vegetation as the scenery. Every shot here feels perfect. What's going on? Am I seeing things? How come our Kikai has a child? The hatred of stealing a wife is irreconcilable. That man, draw your sword. So beautiful, is Kikai married? The entire live broadcast room exploded. There are also many die-hard fans of Li Zioki, who were shocked when they saw the backs of Li Chen and the other two. Shocking, a well-known food blogger actually secretly married and had a child, and her husband turned out to be him. Such title parties and screenshot parties posted on Weibo and Moments at the first opportunity. So, Li Zioki's live broadcast room quickly rushed to a terrible level with a higher popularity than usual. Damn it, my goddess was taken away just like that. Who is it? Didn't they say Kikai is not married? The child is so big, I'm heartbroken. A few dozen seconds after the broadcast started, barrages were flying all over the sky. Everyone wants to attack this man. Li Xiaoan was also embarrassed. It was really a coincidence that the scene was too coincidental. Duyan headquarters. The supervisor who was originally in charge of Li Zioki was leisurely tasting tea. She also received a live broadcast reminder from Li Zioki on her mobile phone. But she didn't click it immediately, because usually at this time, Li Zioki's live broadcast room is not very popular, and more needs to warm up. Xiao Yao slowly clicked on Weibo, and unexpectedly a hot topic popped up directly. Puff. Xiao Yao's eyes suddenly became straight. She rubbed her eyes and looked again, but it didn't change. Xiao Yao was so nervous that she quickly opened the live broadcast room. What caught her eyes was a beautiful picture of a happy family. A man, a woman, and a child. Isn't it a family? Xiao Yao's lips were trembling. So, was she deceived? Li Zioqi is not single, but married a long time ago. If this is confirmed, she will lose a lot of fans. Manager Xiao, something big has happened. Someone ran over and said with a mobile phone, now the news about Li Zioqi's secret marriage and childbirth has exploded. Yes, it exploded. The main reason is that it scared everyone when it started. The impact of this live broadcast is a bit scary, and the people of our country are the first-line melon-eating crowd. It will be spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. It will explode completely in no time. It was less than a minute, and Li Xiaoan didn't expect it to be like this. In the past, it was good to have a few thousand people in the live broadcast room for 1 minute, but now the number of people in the live broadcast room exceeds 50,000. The number of people entering the room is still increasing in a snowball manner. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 30. When Xiao Yao recovered, the number of people in Li Zioqi's live broadcast room had exceeded 100,000. Li Zioqi was holding Li Biwu and didn't know anything about this. Li Chen leaned over and picked up a butter crab from the large water tank. Just as he was about to hand it to Li Zioqi, Li Xiaoan behind him answered the phone with cold sweat. I know, this is my problem. Li Zioqi hugged the lovely Li Biwu and looked back. The camera finally saw the faces of this family of 3 clearly. There is really no secret marriage, Li Xiaoan smiled bitterly, it's purely my fault. What's wrong? Li Zioqi asked. The live broadcast room is now blown up, Li Xiaoan said, they all thought you were secretly married and had a child. Li Zioqi. Li Chen. Sister, what is a secret marriage and a child? Li Biwu's cute voice sounded. At this time, the excited crowd in the live broadcast room was increasing. Oh my god, this guy is so handsome. Wait a minute, why do I feel that guy and that little girl are so familiar? Damn, aren't these the cute father and daughter who went viral a while ago? Damn, so we misunderstood? They are not secretly married at all. Unexpectedly, when someone recognized Li Chen and Li Biwu, the live broadcast room became even happier. Xiao Yao, who was on the phone and following the live broadcast, was dumbfounded again. She had also watched Li Chen's account before, and it was a miracle that the video became popular. The key is that this father and daughter did nothing. But she never thought that Li Zioqi would actually go and link up with this father and daughter. Wait. Linkage. Xiao Yao's eyes changed slightly, so was Li Zioqi really going to link up this time? She was a little unsure for a while. After understanding the misunderstanding in the live broadcast room, Li Zioqi covered her mouth and chuckled, I want to get married and have children in secret, but I have to have a partner first. Wife, you have a partner now. Do you think I can do it? Just now I chatted privately, and Kikai asked me what kind of toad I was. As the misunderstanding was resolved, the style of the live broadcast room was distorted. Li Zioqi ignored this group of naughty fans, and looked at Li Chen again, I heard that it is very demanding to raise butter crabs. How did you keep them alive? Secret, Li Chen laughed. Li Zioqi laughed dryly, and knew that he asked something he shouldn't ask, and said, these are still a little small, and they need to be raised for a while. Yes, Li Chen didn't say to raise them with vitality water, so it doesn't take long at all. The attention in the live broadcast room quickly guessed why Li Zioqi went to find Li Chen. Although there are still many fans who don't quite understand what happened, there are many fans in the live broadcast room explaining, which saves Li Zioqi the trouble of explaining. Butter crab? 2,000 a pound? So expensive. This thing is rare, of course it is precious. Last time Xiao's father said he would not sell it, I wonder if he will sell it this time. Our Kikai has gone, Xiao's father will definitely sell it, right? Many fans are also paying attention to this. After all, such expensive crabs are not affordable for ordinary people. Occasionally, it's okay to bear the pain and buy one to try, but if you really buy a few, you will probably feel sad for a few years. Li Xiaoqi did not say what Li Chen promised her in the live broadcast room, but put the live broadcast equipment in front of Xiao. So, the live broadcast effect of the big beauty and the little beauty was completely blown up. This is even more popular than the previous misunderstanding. Li Xiaoqi's popularity is very high, and Xiao has recently emerged as a new force. The combination of the two will attract fans for each other. Are you hungry? Li Chen asked. I'm going to cook. Not hungry, Li Xiaoqi shook his head. Gurgle. Gurgle. Li Chen looked at Li Xiaoqi and Li Xiaoan with strange eyes. Those who saw the scene in the live broadcast room were even happier. I'm not hungry, I'm really not hungry, it's just my stomach that's complaining, I have nothing to do with it. Haha, Kikai and Wenwen are worthy of being called foodie sisters, they say they're not hungry, but their bodies are honest. Did you see the look in Xiao's father's eyes? It made me laugh to death. Li Chen guessed that the two sisters didn't eat much, so he turned around to pick vegetables. Li Xiaoqi was a little embarrassed, she didn't expect her stomach to complain at this time. Sister, are you hungry? Yes, sister is hungry. Li Xiaoqi pinched Li Biwu's nose and smiled. Then you can eat the dishes made by my dad later, they are delicious, Li Biwu said proudly. Is it really delicious? Of course, Dad's dishes are the most fragrant in the world. There are more and more fans in the live broadcast room. This time Li Xiaoqi's fans increased sharply, and Li Chen's account increased even more. Of course, Li Chen didn't know. Li Xiaoqi followed Li Chen with Li Biwu in her arms. She was also curious about what Li Chen was going to cook for them. The camera was pointed at Li Chen, and followed Li Chen into the vegetable garden. Li Chen picked a cucumber and some old beans, and then turned into the kitchen. When Li Chen came out again, he had rolled up his trouser legs. To be honest, Xiaowu's dad is really handsome. Rural life is so far away. I don't know how long it has been since I last saw such a place. Hey, is Xiaowu's dad going to the pond? Is our host Kikai's meal tonight in this small pond? Many people in the live broadcast room felt very fresh, mainly because many people are born in big cities now. All their vegetables and dishes come from supermarkets. This is the first time they have seen the whole process of picking vegetables in such a primitive and natural way. Just like many people in the live broadcast room said, it was the first time they found that beans were wrapped around bamboo poles and then grew vertically downwards. And cucumbers, all of which need to be built on a rack. Now that Li Chen has gone into the water, the curiosity of the audience in the live broadcast room has also been aroused. What is he doing? Li Xiaoan couldn't help asking. There seems to be nothing edible in this small pond. There are some lotus flowers, but the key is that the lotus roots are probably not grown up yet, right? Li Xiaoqi also shook her head slightly. Although she is a food anchor, it doesn't mean she knows everything. Until Li Chen walked to the green plants growing near the edge of the water, Li Xiaoqi's eyes lit up slightly and smiled, so it's this. Ah, Li Xiaoan's eyes fell on the long green aquatic plants by the pool, and she didn't see anything special. Could it be that this thing is edible? Fans in the live broadcast room were full of imagination, guessing what was edible inside. However, some fans took screenshots and went to Baidu. Half of Li Chen's calf was stuck in the mud. He gently peeled off the green plants and pulled up the things inside. This thing is rare even in the vegetable market now, let alone those young people who are lazy and don't know the difference between grains. Li Chen only knew it after coming here and hearing people in the village say that it can be eaten. Li Chen pulled up the things below. When he picked it up, many people in the live broadcast room still didn't recognize it. This thing is wrapped in a thick green skin and needs to be peeled off to reveal its true appearance. After Li Chen pulled out 3 or 4 pieces in a row, he went ashore and washed the mud off his legs. "Sister, do you know this thing?"